So if you are watching this video, it is more likely that you are worried about job saturation in the UK as a healthcare professional and are worried about the fact that is UK even worth coming to. Now, before we move ahead, I just want to remind you all that if you are watching this video and are considering to coming to the UK, then you've got to manifest it. You've got to have positive thinking, and you can do that by commenting "it is worth it" in the comments below right now before we move ahead. But the important things that I want to share in this video are just discussing about, is there job saturation in the UK for healthcare professionals, and what is it that UK employers are considering when they recruit international or overseas candidates for roles within the UK in the NHS. And if any of this is of interest to you, stick around, because I will be sharing some personal insights and my own experience related to this in this video. So it's going to be really special today. Before we waste any more time, let's just dive into today's content. So, I think the first question I want to answer over here is, a lot of people are obviously out there saying that there are no jobs in the UK. The current market does not support international graduates, and international graduates are not even being considered for jobs in the UK. Is this true? So, before I take the approach and answer the question from obviously a very different perspective, saying, do you need to do your HCPC registration? Is it worth it? Is the UK as a country worth coming to? What I just want to do is take a step back and think about all of this in a more different way. And I mean, let's be honest, who really knows? Are there jobs in the UK? Who knows? But if you just think about it, have you seen on any web page that there are no jobs at all? Or the fact that the UK government has said that they are going to stop recruiting NHS staff from overseas candidates? Well, if this news is not there, then who are we to say that, there are no jobs in the UK? Now, even before I share this, I just want to take you a step back to my journey when I came to the UK as an international student in 2021. So I obviously did my master's in the UK, and then following that, my master's was due to end in September 2021, but I actually landed my job in June or July of 2021. So that just meant that I even started working before I graduated from my degree. Now, I'm not going to say that all of this was amazing and I did all of the right things. I think I was just in the right place at the right time, and everything just sort of fell into place for me because a lot of people prayed, and there was also an element of hard work to that. But what I want to share over here was that in 2021, COVID was at its peak. There were a lot of visa changes happening, because if you don't remember, that's when the PSW visa had just come in. And a lot of people were saying that recruitment for international physios might not be accurate. Nobody had any idea about what was happening with the HCPC registration that time as well, because obviously I did not have any support in applying for that. But what I want to share is that the negativity going on international web pages, so where there are Facebook groups, or where there are Instagram accounts and YouTube accounts saying that there are no jobs in the UK, all of this was going on back then as well. And it's been 3 years for me right now working in the NHS, and I've landed jobs, I've changed the jobs a couple of times, I've still got visas to work whenever I've switched jobs. So all I want to say is, the negativity that was out there still stands. But if I was able to land a job during COVID, then I personally think that you are in a much better position, because obviously COVID has passed and the situation might be different and the negativity still looks the same. But there are opportunities if you want to look out for it. I think the other thing that I wanted to briefly talk about is getting opinion from your seniors who are already in the UK. Now, obviously, I've been working in the UK for a couple of years, but I've also worked in India for a couple of years before that. So there are many of you all who reach out to me saying, is this a good time to come to the UK? And my answer obviously stays the same, that you've got to work hard, you've got to have the right registration in order to work as a physio or a allied healthcare professional in the UK. Only then will you be considered for jobs in the UK. But I do know of many of my own batchmates from my days when I was studying physiotherapy, or from my seniors when I asked them about coming to the UK, and most of them would just say, just get your HCPC registration and just keep applying for jobs. But nobody really had a bit of an insight on how you should do it. And I think that's where we all struggle as a community, don't we? Because we always think about, yeah, we've got to get a job or we've got to get the HCPC registration sorted, but how do we do that? And if that is a question on your mind, then let me just inform you that I have several playlists that I can link up right here. You'll find them in the description below as well, that you can use to obviously get on the journey to start applying for your HCPC registration, which is your license to practice as a physio, OT, or any other allied healthcare professional. And then there are playlists and videos that I've made to sort of help you land those jobs. But again, if you need further help, feel free to comment and sort of get in touch with me, because then we can have a deeper discussion on how I can support you through your application. But I think what's important to note over here is that you're always going to have seniors or people out there, or even relatives from your own family, saying that the UK is saturated, the UK is collapsing, you will never land a job in the UK because there are no job opportunities. And at that point, I think you've just got to turn back to them and say, well, if there are no jobs in the UK, why are you in the UK? Why are you working? If there is no future for that country, why are you spending time over there with your family? Because I think if they answer that question, then you would have some insight into why they feel that obviously the UK is not worth it. But if nobody is able to give you that concrete answer, I would say that there is no harm in trying. Because by not trying to land a job in the UK, you're actually living a life where you're not giving yourself that opportunity to explore. I mean, I completely understand that obviously applying for the HCPC registration can be financially taxing. It can be really expensive for middle class families back home in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or any other country. And if you don't have the finances, please don't push yourself for it. Collect the funds. Like, I worked in Mumbai for nearly 2.5 years before coming to the UK. Collect your funds, build your savings before you consider the next step of your journey in your career, because the journey is not running away. You can always take 1 or 2 years to build yourself up while you are making those savings in order to start your UK journey. But if you don't give it a try, if you don't try to get a job in the UK, then you're always going to have that regret and that nagging feeling. And who knows, maybe once you come here, you might actually enjoy your time over here, might build really good experiences, might develop in your career, and then you can obviously go back home if that's what you want, or continue to live in the UK if that's what you want. The choice is yours. But I feel life is giving you that opportunity and you have the time to make those decisions. So please don't stay back just because somebody is telling you it is hard, the NHS is saturated, and there are no jobs in the UK. The other thing I wanted to share on the topic of job saturation is consider where you are applying for jobs. Now, I'm going to be honest, London is huge. It has many big NHS trusts over there, but that also means that the competition is quite high. Now, this is something that I have shared in my one-to-one sessions in the past, that when I was shortlisting for a few applications in London, we received nearly 40 to 50 applications, and sometimes even more than that for band 5 and band 6 vacancies. And from all of those, we would just have 5 to 7 interviews for that single post. So you can see the level of competition is really high. Now, that's not to dissuade anybody, but I feel when you are trying to land that first job in the UK, you've got to be wise about your choices. So beggars can't be choosers, and that is what you are when you are trying to land that first role in the UK, because you do not have any UK experience. So I would say try and pick jobs wherever you get one. The most important thing again over there is trying to clear those interviews, because again, landing a job means that you need to have a good CV. Your CV needs to be up to UK standards. You need to have made a good job application to even be considered for the role. But the thing that sort of makes or breaks that journey of landing a job in the UK is the interview. Now, again, I'm going to be honest, interviews in the UK are nothing compared to what you've seen back home. There is a very different process. All of the sort of questions that are asked in the interviews get marked equally. And there is no personal favor that sort of comes into an interview, because we need to grade the interview systematically for all applicants. And if you would like to get more information about them, please feel free to book a one-to-one session with me where we can go over all of the details that you need in order to clear those interviews. And the most important thing is this, because this was a question that was asked recently, is can I help with clinical questions? Can I help with clinical questions for interviews? And unfortunately, the answer is no, because I mean, if you look at yourself, you might most likely get different interviews over a course of 3 to 4 months. And every interview would be with a specialized service within a specific NHS trust or different NHS trust. And what that just means is that for every interview, it's really hard to predict questions based on the clinical examples or the cases that that specialization works with. And why this is important to know is because now, when you are preparing to come to the UK, this is a good time to build your clinical reasoning, to build your understanding of cases. Because in the interview prep, I and you can go through questions that are related to the UK. So there are so many topics that obviously, as an Indian physio, I'd never heard of. But I think they are relevant if you are considering to be a dietitian, an occupational therapist, a speech and language therapist, a radiographer, maybe another sort of technician in the UK. But obviously, I can't help you with the clinical bits because that is relevant to your field, that is relevant to your clinical reasoning, and that shows your skills as a professional within your stream. So, again, if there are non clinical questions, we can definitely go through them. I can also give you a bit of a background on how you can answer questions for interviews. But I hope that this video has given you some outlook in the fact that UK as a country continues to accept international healthcare professionals. Completely think that UK employers are open to recruiting the right staff if there are any. And that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know if you have any queries in the comments below. Take care.